are the Purposeful Project. We help entrepreneurs for free. Welcome to today's Pep Talk, where we'll take just 20 minutes to interview leading experts from around the world who share actionable know-how, insights and life lessons. To hear these incredible insights, follow us on Spotify, Apple Music or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Or you can simply visit thepurposefulproject.com, sign up to our mailing list and get the podcast in your inbox every single week. Hi Karena, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out. Would you mind please perhaps by starting off sharing your story, what you're doing and how you're involved in the Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival this year?
Thank you, Simon. I'm thrilled to be back on the podcast with you. So very brief introduction. I'm the co-founder of W Hub and Angel Hub, who are both behind SIS, the big conference. W Hub, just in a few words, is the largest startup community platform and power connector, really proudly headquartered here out of Hong Kong with over 500 partners around the world and with a huge passion on helping startups grow and scale their business and connecting all stakeholders to the innovative power of the ecosystem and hence fostering the growth of all. And Angel Hub is taking care of a very specific connection and research is helping startups to have access to capital and potential investors to have access to fundraising opportunities. So it's the very first and still only SFC regulated equity crowdfunding platform. We also have a fund and we co-invest alongside. So we're behind SIS. That started off 3 years back as Startup Impact Summit with the value proposition of showcasing impact and making impact. And this year we're elevating SIS to Scale Up Impact Summit with the promise about co-creating future. And we are very happy to be once again the main event of the Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival, which is a week-long festival, as you pointed out. And last year was the first time we went hybrid. So we had over 20,000 participants from 97 countries, an amazing lineup from speakers. And this year, again, we're looking about, connecting the world and co-creating futures together.
And so for anyone listening to this podcast after the event, we'll put all the links below that you can still grab all the information from W Hub and Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival. So if you are listening and you've missed the event for whatever reason, don't worry, you can still get all the insights. So tell us a little bit about your personal history. Why are you in Hong Kong?
Yes, so my personal history is very long. If we go into all the details, the short version would be that my passport is German, but I partially grew up in the US and I have a double diploma from Germany and France, and then joined a very large multinational corporate called Procter & Gamble that had that mission about improving people's lives. And it's that what brought me actually from Germany to other parts of Europe and then to Asia, first to Japan, responsible for Northeast Asia, and then here to Hong Kong and taking care of big parts of Greater China. And that same passion about improving people's lives is actually what connected me to the tech and innovation scene here. And together with my co-founder, who's French, so similar as my husband, so my better half definitely is French. We became very passionate about entrepreneurs changing the world, creating our futures together, and we wanted to help them to connect to the resources they need to scale. And that's why we launched W Hub back in 2000. And it started off with a recruiting platform and then just took pain point by pain point from startup founders to make sure that they also get opportunities to get visibility, to get programs of co-innovation with corporates, to expand internationally, and then all the way to building a fundraising and equity crowdfunding platform.
Now, the crowdfunding platform you just mentioned, Angel Hub, just in case people missed it, tell us how that came about. Be regulated and get that all to happen is quite the achievement. So tell us a little bit about how you made that happen.
Yeah, thank you. So again, it was really about back in 2013, this mission and passion on elevating, the Hong Kong startup ecosystem and the startups at the center in the global ranks. We said, there's no reason why Hong Kong should not be a major tech and innovation hub. And back then, the biggest problem was really about talent recruiting and then visibility. And then obviously, if you start, seeing your ecosystem mature, that fundraising and making a difference in the fundraising part is really crucial. We really say that that we wanted to solve the problems of time, access, and know-how for both for the founders, but also for so many potential investors. As you know, Simon, Hong Kong is actually a very important financial center, has a huge density of high net worth individuals, family offices, institutional monies with VCs and PEs, but we felt there was not enough resources flowing into the ecosystem. And to your point, when we said, what we looked, what works in other parts of the world, we saw the benefits of crowdfunding. Just a little parenthesis, though, we're for professional investors yet, so not for retail crowdfunding, so we're not like an Indiegogo. So again, for equity crowdfunding, we said, this is something that's a meaningful business model that can really help make a difference. And we realized that, this means in Hong Kong, with very diligent regulators, that you're entering the space of the licensed activity. And hence, we went out and started the dialogue with the regulators to see that we can, get equity crowdfunding licensed and live here in Hong Kong.
I think Hong Kong is, it is an international city, one of the top financial hubs in the world, but I don't think it's recognized as a startup hub in the way that it should be. And I think that having platforms like yours there really is, I think, putting Hong Kong on the map. Do you feel, for anyone that's listening that perhaps wants to go and start a business in Hong Kong, that there's a clear route to getting into Hong Kong? What are the steps for people that if they wish to start a business that you think they should take?
Yeah, and I like that, the way you asked the question, because what we also realize, there's a lack of visibility and awareness on the great opportunities here in Hong Kong. And that's the very reason why we put that educational aspect of what we do on the forefront, and we created white paper. So I'm just going to put a shameless plug and say, if you really want to connect to Hong Kong, we have white papers on our platform for free download, where you can already understand what's happening in the market, what is the infrastructure, why is Hong Kong such a fantastic breeding ground for successful companies. And just 2 weeks back, we have given birth to the 10th unicorn for 7 million people. That probably puts us in one of the highest densities of unicorns per capita. And there are a lot of good reasons why this is possible. And really having that at your fingertips through the white paper is one of the things that we wanted to make sure that you can come and scale into Hong Kong. You do not necessarily need us, but there's a lot of resources out there. And I think that's something that Hong Kong has proven to be true over the past few years.
And so what do you think are the benefits of being in Hong Kong in your experience and view?
Yeah, so I think one of the real biggest benefits and one of the ways to describe Hong Kong's ecosystem best is to talk about the diversity. And the diversity comes into play when we look into different sectors that are going to be innovated, not to use the D word, disrupted, through technology. And it's just because it has such a rich history. So you obviously find, health tech, fintech, we talk that Hong Kong is a very important global financial center. And you also have then industries and sectors that you may not find in other ecosystems, such as textile tech or property tech or travel tech, just because a lot of traditional businesses, have used this hub to do business on a successful and regional level. And talking about that hub place is also a fact that it's very diverse in terms of background of founders. 1/3 of our founders are from, originally not Hong Kong, and that holds even true for our unicorns. So again, the fact that you can scale a company very successfully from coming from abroad into Hong Kong, I think is something that you would not necessarily find in a lot of different ecosystems. And even, my co-founder and me, very passionate about the tech and innovation scene and being able to scale that platform here. It's also true in terms of age. So obviously, if you look into, talent and the talent pool, once again, amazing fintech talent, with 75% of the world's banks here. But also in terms of talent, you have now more and more youngsters that are looking into the tech and innovation scene. And you have a lot of career switchers, right, that are available here and based here because maybe their traditional jobs brought them here, same as for me. And nice, and to finish off, is it's also a pretty gender diverse ecosystem. We cannot really say that we're at 100% parity yet, but we're way ahead. And if you just even look into sectors such as fintech or so, you can see a lot of female leaders that are making a big impact here. So the diversity is definitely one thing, and we all know that the power of scaling companies successfully is having a very large diversity. I think other elements are kind of like, and I'm just going to run very briefly through that, is it's very strategically positioned, right, in terms of demand and supply. It's very close to the Pearl River Delta. And now with the GBA, the Greater Bay Area initiatives, there's more and more collaboration between Hong Kong, Macau, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and entirely 11 cities in that Guangdong area. It is a place that is very well connected, physically and online, with amazing smartphone distribution. So we have tons of companies that are mobile first that come into Hong Kong, connected over social media, the traditional Western social medias, as well as the Chinese social medias. It has a very strong regulatory and legal system that is very safe, but at the same time, very, very easy, very open in terms of immigration laws. So it's really a wonderful pool of all infrastructure and resources you need to scale a company from very early stage to very large stage. Because even though the market very often is relatively small with 7 million people, you have all these business connections into China, into Southeast Asia here.
Well said. I mean, I, as you know, was there for 20 years, so I have a real love of the city. And, the setting up of a company is, I've set up companies in the UK and the US. It's so complicated. Setting up a company in Hong Kong is so simple, and a flat tax rate. It makes, when you work very hard building something, it just makes it a lot easier when those things aren't on your back. So, I mean, Hong Kong, we could probably talk about how amazing it is forever. I wanted to ask you, one of the things, I guess, with people listening, they might be thinking of becoming entrepreneurs, or they might have got a little bit stuck as entrepreneur. But do you think entrepreneurs are born or bred? What's your take on this sort of issue?
I love this question. I just wanted to build on one thing. Actually, you reminded me, because we're potentially having people that are calling in from overseas. You can, open up your company in Hong Kong from overseas. You do not physically have to be in Hong Kong to get a business registration, right? So just to build on that, which comes to your point about, how do you become an entrepreneur? You just do it. So I don't really think that you're necessarily born to be an entrepreneur. So I definitely was not born an entrepreneur. I had like a very traditional career. And I also did not wake up one morning and said like, oh, great, I'm just going to be an entrepreneur. I think I was way too risk averse. And I really learned and embraced, that wonderful philosophy of not fearing to fail and learning fast and just, have that embracing your passion and go out and do it. So I think that there are certain maybe mindsets that you may have at the very beginning where you might be very adventurous, or you may not fear of trying out new things. But I think, I was really in a very traditional company with a very traditional career path, and there were a lot of things I had to unlearn before, fully embracing how to incorporate agility and how to incorporate, that very innovative mindset. So for me, no, it's not something that you're born with. I think you learn certain things like resilience in a positive way. Sometimes I think like I'm probably even more stubborn than resilient. Just, kind of like not giving up, having pleasure to, kind of like not mind hardship, to go for the greater good. I think these maybe are things that you kind of like learn through childhood. I was really loved to play sports and team sports. So I think a couple of things that I really have parallels that I see. But again, it's not something you're born with, right? It's maybe something that you realize through your environment and how you grow up that you appreciate. Yeah.
I love the answer, because it's not clear cut. It's true. I think anyone could become an entrepreneur. No one's born a doctor, right? I mean, there's 50 different types of doctors too. There's 50 different types of entrepreneurs, right? So there's no you can choose your own path, and I think that you're a great example of both the diversity of Hong Kong, both you and your partner Karen. leading the charge in building the ecosystem in Hong Kong, and on the diversity side, you're good examples of just how powerful it can be when we have an open society like that. In addition, like you say, I think there's just so much opportunity in Hong Kong. I wanted to ask you a little bit, you mentioned earlier about the 10th unicorn in Hong Kong. A friend of both of ours, Yatsu, founded the company. I know you're also an investor in them. So tell us a little bit about that journey. And we're actually going to have Yat on our podcast as well. I know you're going to be interviewing Yat during one of your streams as well. But tell us a little bit about that experience from your side of things.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I can also really only encourage people to tune in at SIS, because Yat will be giving a keynote about the internet of value. I love it. We provocatively called it decentralize or die. And he is
time
also
is that, by the way?
The co-founder of the Metaverse.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
Decentralize or die.
Sorry, go ahead, Cam. Go ahead. What time is it so people listening can know when to tune in?
So that will be on Tuesday, the 25th of May, and Hong Kong time will be, if I'm not mistaken, around 2:00. So make sure that right after lunch you join in. And afterwards, he will continue on a fireside chat with Tubadur, who's the co-founder of Metaverse, together with Metacoven. And they both became quite famous as soon as they started buying the Beeple, the NFT art that was sold off by Christie's for over $60 million a few weeks back. But back to Animoca, and I think it's actually a beautiful story about, once again, the Hong Kong startup ecosystem and the power of the Hong Kong startup ecosystem being very connected and really built by passionate entrepreneurs. I mean, back to you, I think Yat is probably one of the longest standing entrepreneurs and investors in the scene. Back in 2000 and even before 2000, the year 2000, very active. And we obviously, same as when you were here, at the very early beginning was a very small core of people being very passionate about technology and innovation. And we know Yat for a long, long time. And we truly appreciate both of our missions and passion on advancing the tech and innovation scene and the youth as well. And we were very happy to have Yat on board, also on Angel Hub, as one of our investment committee. As you may know, on Angel Hub, the reason why we can be sector agnostic and industry agnostic is we have an IC of 50 very successful entrepreneurs, investors, and industry experts in their field. And Yat, from the very early on, was passionate about blockchain and the opportunities blockchain can provide, really in terms of democratizing access, on allowing, for example, in the gaming industry, where he's really on the leading forefront, to shift market powers to bring basically the monetization of value creation back into the people who are behind the value creation, so the gamers themselves. And with that, we have been really privileged to follow his amazing success path early on. And then when the opportunity came up to come on board and also to fuel his growth, and in the latest investment round, we were very, very proud to, Angel Hub being up and running and live, playing a role in that round as well.
It's another great example of the integration that Hong Kong brings. I always try to describe Hong Kong as one degree of separation. And so everybody's in it together, really. So as you say, Yat is an investor in businesses. He's helped platforms like yours and mine, and supported so many people, so many ways. And then when his own platform becomes a unicorn, in my view, in part because of that good energy that he's already put out there, and then people like yourself want to support him in return. And so that's one of the things I think about Hong Kong that's hard to explain to people, but there's definitely a feeling that all boats rise together and everybody's kind of in it together. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Fully agree.
So who do you think is going to be?
Fully agree. And just to build on, it's just to build on that is it's funny to say one degree of separation. I said it's half a degree of separation, right, in Hong Kong.
Now you start to sound like you're related.
I think that the power. the power of really the networking being in the DNA of people, and yes, people really being very pragmatic and collaborative, I think is something that is only you can only feel it when you're here. It's very difficult to put into words. Very powerful.
Totally. I still try to describe to my London friends about how in one day I'm able to have at least 18 meetings. And people are like, how is that even possible? But it is in Hong Kong. The impossible is possible. I guess just thinking of time, I know you've got lots to do. So who do you think is going to be the next Hong Kong unicorn? To put you on the spot, you've got to pick a favorite.
Yes. So obviously, I can only invite you to stay very close on, Angel Hub and what we do. And we're obviously looking forward to not only the 11th, but the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and and many more to come. I think there are different sectors here in Hong Kong. And it's interesting because if you're not close to the scene, you may not realize that a lot of innovation is really driven here, not necessarily always on the first and front page of our newspapers. I think I would definitely encourage people to look on any of the portfolio companies we have in the health tech arena, in the health tech sector, and also in terms of the food tech sector, for sure. So even you want to put that as a subsector. I also believe that in fintech we do have subsectors such as insurtech and regtech that will give birth to some of the most successful companies very, very recently. And obviously, I just want to tease people to come and contact me directly if they want to go a little bit deeper and want me to throw some names out there.
Well, very, very political answer. You didn't mention anybody in particular, and well done. You good media training, but I guess maybe I'm going to call it. I'm going to say Angel Hub. Maybe you're the next unicorn in an ironic twist.
Well, I'd love us to be the next unicorn because that would mean that we would have enabled and supported and scaled so many other companies, and that is obviously the dream, to really make a significant difference here, not only to the ecosystem in terms of talent recruiting and visibility, but also in terms of fundraising.
Spoken like a true passionate entrepreneur that's thinking about what they could do with the success that they got to help others. So that kind of personifies you in my mind. I appreciate you. I just wanted to perhaps end the podcast today, but just asking you if you had any inspiring or words of wisdom for entrepreneurs out there.
Oh, not really inspiring, but pretty much down to earth, because I always think, entrepreneurship is nothing that you can learn in a textbook. So just do it. Follow your passion. For those who know why W Hub starts with W, it's because it starting with why. I'm very passionate about Simon Sinek's talk, that it's not what you do and not how you do it, but why you do it. So all purpose driven people out there, just take the plunge. I think that's the only hands-on wisdom I'd love to pass on.
That's appreciated. And as always, I'm also a big fan of Simon Sinek. So as soon as you mention his name, I'm now going to stop my own podcast and go watch his stuff. And I suggest the listeners do the same. But thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your knowledge. And we'll see you at the conference.
Thank you, Simon. Great pleasure.
See you. Thank you for listening to Pep Talk today, powered by the Purposeful Project. If you found it interesting, please give us a review and follow us. In addition, you can sign up to our website and get loads more free entrepreneur knowledge, as well as get access to Pep Talk and the Purposeful Project podcast direct in your inbox every week.